because that is, the whole country was fighting about that. Nobody was fighting about how long it takes to recover from an Achilles. That's not like a tipping point, cultural tipping point. But he made it one for some reason, because he kind of viewed it as an offshoot of science and medicine. It was just weird. Do you think that if all of that is behind, that he can just come in clean? That he's just, you know what, my Achilles is now healed. There's nothing for me to argue about. Physically, I'm better than ever, and I'm ready to just play football and stay focused.
No, because I don't view it as the only reason he played better later in the year was his Achilles was better. I viewed it as he played better later in the year because stakes were zero.
Right. Pressure's off.
I do not think. I think Aaron Rodgers, raw, natural, and not just God-given, like he didn't work for it. I'm sure there's the ability you're born with, and then there's the talent you craft. He has, I think, those two things carried him his whole career to where he could overcome the fact that he never had that other stuff that almost all the other great quarterbacks had. And then as soon as the talent started to dip a bit because of age, he stopped achieving at the super high level. And as soon as, because of injury, the talent wasn't apparent at all, he was not good. Like his last year in Green Bay, he was not good because, he's banged up, so he can't, you know what I mean? The talent can only carry you so far. Then he's coming off a popped Achilles. And so I've never viewed him as like, a pressure guy is too much. But I think you look at it, so like he has the all-time lowest interception rate, and he's also been sacked more than any quarterback ever, right? So those two things are correlated. He has, throughout his career, taken way more sacks than he should have to protect his own numbers. Right. Like those are the hidden things or whatever it is that I just think show you an approach to the position that is more looking inward than looking outward. And I think at 40 plus now, when his talent is middling compared to the rest of the league, I know he can still throw a super pretty ball, maybe the prettiest ball at times. The juice is not worth the squeeze. And so what I'm interested in is, you were talking earlier about him sitting out and trying to find the right spot. Yeah. I do wonder if you might be right that he does that, but that if he does that, waiting for the right spot, but also because I don't think he wants to do off-season. Does Aaron Rodgers want to do mini camp and OTAs and all the things? If he signs with a new team at the start of free agency, you better believe they're going to expect that, right? Like,
yeah. Okay. Let's talk about this. There's a lot to unpack here. And I kind of want to address each thing individually, and also all the teams that you can see. Like the odds are kind of interesting. The 49ers, the Las Vegas, Pittsburgh, Minnesota. A couple teams like you're like, that makes sense. Like Indianapolis can make sense. Pittsburgh, Las Vegas, but 49ers and Minnesota, that's kind of interesting. But so, listen, I think Aaron Rodgers, first off, is not as bad as last year made it look. I think he was still recovering from the Achilles, and I think he was getting better, and I don't think it was just because the pressure was off. I don't necessarily believe that. I do believe that Aaron is very strategic with how he, is perceived, and he's very calculated and all of that. I'm not a huge fan of Aaron Rodgers as the leader himself, at least, especially how he is right now. I could defend how he was earlier on in his career in terms of his leadership, but that was also because the skill really and the special was there. And now it's like, right, if he does want to sign with the team and he doesn't want to be actually really integrated with the team and get to know everybody and do all the things that you need to do, it's like, yeah, I don't want that. If I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Raiders or whatever, I'm like, I don't want that. At this point, I would rather, start new with someone else, someone who's actually going to put in the work and be there. But if he is willing to do that, to separate it from just his skill level itself. I do believe that if Aaron Rodgers is on the right team with the right coaching staff, he can have a tremendous amount of success, because it's not just his ability to throw a beautiful ball and whatnot. It's his ability to execute and run an offense that people just really undervalue the importance of it. And again, like, I don't think you even really need to know football super well. Just you can just watch with your eyes the command of what they're doing at the line of scrimmage, the way how they're running the offense. Again, it was night and day with Russell Wilson compared to Justin Fields, because one was a true high-level seasoned veteran, and the other one was still trying to figure out how to play football in the NFL. And it's just different. It really is. It's just different. And that is the other thing, that Aaron Rodgers knows what to do, how to do it, how to manipulate all of this, when it matters, and manipulate in a positive way, not a negative way. And that's also what he significantly adds. And those things do matter. It's why we were able to see a Peyton Manning able to win when the dude looked like he could throw the ball no more than 5 yards, It's partly why Tom Brady was also able to age so well, not only because he still could bring a lot of it, physically, but also a tremendous up here. But again, those guys also brought a level of, depth of leadership, as well as urgency, and belief, that I'm not so sure that Aaron Rodgers brings at this point. I think if this was his first time going to another team, then there would be a lot of belief still. There would be a lot of belief in ownership and coaching, coordinators, other players. I think some of that aura has definitely been diminished, which then does, hurt your ability to lead and inspire. I think that matters. And you can't just compare it to a Tom Brady, because when you saw Tom Brady play these young guys, when he was with Tampa Bay and whatnot, you saw the opposing team, like, after the games, they would go running up to him and say, "I've looked up to you my whole life. Can you sign this? Can you sign my jersey? Can you sign this?" I mean, like, they were like 14-year-olds running up to like a celebrity. They turned into like 14-year-old girls running up to like a pop star. I mean, like, it's actually pretty remarkable. It really is. And these guys are all like, and it's humbling for these guys. Like, it's not easy to go to the opposing quarterback and be like, "Can you sign my jersey? The jersey that I wore to play against you in a football game and in an NFL game." Like, it's pretty remarkable. And Aaron Rodgers does not bring that. A lot of people like Aaron Rodgers. A lot of people love Aaron Rodgers. And I think the media over exaggerates his issues, because they obviously do. But at the same time, players still want to play with someone who's going to be great, who can ball. And so there will still be more questions around that. And I'd love to know, like, if he wants to go to Pittsburgh, like, what type of quarterback is he going to be, and what is he trying to accomplish? Like, I think that's the question, because I think it is a worthwhile question to ask, like what Mangini's bringing up. It's like, are you trying to prove people wrong, or are you trying to win? Like, what are you trying to do right now? And I don't have a strong sense of that, quite frankly. I really, really don't. But I think he could have success in Pittsburgh. I think he could have success in Las Vegas. I mean, listen, he'd have success in all 5 of those teams, quite frankly, when you really kind of look at it. Because I believe what Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly are going to be doing there. I believe in Kevin O'Connell, and I believe in Shane Steichen. But it's just a matter of what they're going to do. And then again, we can talk about the culture of Pittsburgh. Yeah, the culture is obviously there, but they also have a lot of lack of performances. And they really dropped the ball, at the end of last season. They really kind of fell apart at the end of last season, and they kind of had problems with their own players and issues in that regard. So I don't know if we could just like automatically assume that Aaron Rodgers goes to Pittsburgh and now like has kind of smoothly gets integrated there. Again, it ultimately becomes up to Aaron Rodgers and less about the various coaches, because you have to figure out who is Aaron Rodgers going to be, and what does he want to be? What is he going to attempt to be? And it's just like you don't have those answers. If he's just really looking for a team just to give one last hurrah, I don't know if I feel like messing with that. Honestly, if I had a really awesome roster and a really established culture, and I really thought that the missing link was my quarterback, then yeah, you could be like, you know what, let's roll the dice with Aaron. What else do we have in this moment? Um, then I could see that argument, but that's not necessarily any 5 of these teams. I do think with Aaron, all 5 of those teams would be good, could be legitimate playoff teams, but I'm not sure if you need to put Aaron in front of Brock Purdy at this moment. I'm not so sure. And unless there's like a legitimate issue with J.J. McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings, well, then under that case, like, to then just keep Sam Darnold. You're better off as Sam Darnold than now going after Aaron Rodgers. Like that does not make sense. Again, the Indianapolis Colts are kind of in a weird, messy situation with AR. Their quarterback, I guess double AR now. But I'm a firm believer in what Shane Steichen can do when you give him an actual quarterback. But apparently that whole, culture and team has been kind of a mess. And there's kind of questions around Shane Steichen's ability to kind of like run the team as a head coach beyond just an offensive mind. And I don't know if Aaron Rodgers really kind of fits into that nicely either. So it's a weird situation. And what type of trouble does Aaron get up to in Las Vegas? I mean, like, it's just, I don't know. It's a weird situation. And because there's too many weirds out there, like, I don't know what I do with it. Like, I talked about this from a Pittsburgh Steelers reference, from a point of view before, where I was like, if you run it back with Russ or you run it back with Justin Fields, like, that doesn't give you a ton of optimism and hope for what you'll be able to accomplish in the future. Like, yeah, will you be a pretty good team? Can you have some nice moments? Can you win some games? Sure. Can you even win like a big game, like not necessarily like a playoff game, but like a big game, like against the Ravens or even against the Chiefs or something? Like, could you have that moment that makes you feel really good? Yeah, I do believe that. But like, can you put it all together and be a true threat in the playoffs? It's like, it's not so clear to me that that's the case. Not to mention with Justin Fields clearly did not show you enough this past season. If he did, it would be a no-brainer that you're going forward with Justin Fields. And so since that's not a no-brainer, since Aaron Rodgers is actually favored to go to Pittsburgh, which means there's also some of this insight about Russ and Justin Fields, etc., then it's just kind of like, I don't know if bringing Aaron Rodgers in there now is like the game changer, the difference maker. And if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, you want to try to find your game changer, difference maker. And again, I don't know exactly how you go about doing that. I don't know what the master plan is for that, but it's not Aaron Rodgers. If you were a quarterback away, if this team was awesome and the defense was stepping up, if the defense held the Baltimore Ravens to like, 20 points or something rather than, their pure domination, if they held them to like 15 and they didn't run for 50 times and just dominate that, that way, and the defense was balling and playing great. It was a 17-10 game like we saw in the previous AFC Championship game for the Ravens versus the Chiefs, and you're just like, man, if we just had a quarterback who could get the ball down the field, man, we're beating these top teams. Then sure, get Aaron Rodgers. But the Pittsburgh Steelers have a lot of issues kind of to deal with. So I don't know, man. It's funny because I'm watching this conversation and I saw them all struggle with it, right? And there wasn't even a lot of energy behind the conversation. I'm kind of like, do they even really want to have this conversation? Is it just like, then why are they doing it? And then, excuse me, sorry, sneezing on the truth. And then now I'm trying to have the conversation. I'm just like, yeah, there's just no strong way to go with it, because you're like, yeah, I think he's good, but he's obviously not great. I don't know about his attitude. I don't know what he's trying to accomplish. If he goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, what does that do for the Steelers? If he goes to the Raiders, what does that mean for the Raiders? Like, I think those teams would be better, but they wouldn't necessarily be great. And if you're between the Raiders potentially drafting like a Shador Sanders or something, it's like you're better off just trying that route than not. Like, I don't know. The Steelers are in the tougher spot because I don't think they're going to probably have a good enough draft pick to actually really get a quarterback. I could be wrong on that. Or, I don't know what other draft capital or other moves that they could make to maybe move up in the draft or et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know. It's just a sticky conversation when you can't say with confidence who you think Aaron Rodgers is going to be just as a person. It's one thing to kind of calculate what he can do on the field. That's one thing, and I think he can still bring it on the field. But in terms of like what will he do mentally and emotionally, and the type of quarterback, the type of energy he will bring, because he was very combative even with the New York Jets throughout this season, and it's just at this point it's an energy that I don't want. And when you look at all these franchises that could be looking for a quarterback, they all kind of need a little bit of a reset, minus the 49ers and the Vikings, and in terms of culture, and that quarterback's just not going to bring the culture and the energy that you're going to want. And so then if that's the case, I don't know why you necessarily do it. You would only do it if it makes you a legitimate contender, and I don't think those teams are in a position to be a legitimate contender with an Aaron Rodgers level quarterback at this time. That's ultimately what it comes down to. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Mr. Rodgers' new neighborhood? They didn't even really talk about this, but what do you think the best landing spot would be for Aaron Rodgers? What type of player do you think he would be? Do you think these teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Raiders, the 49ers, I still don't understand that, and the Vikings, I don't understand that, and the Indianapolis Colts, do you think any of those teams should want Aaron at this point? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.